Welcome to this rapid revision session looking at paper 2 of the Pearson Edexcel exam board. This is going to be looking at the British depth study and question 1A, the describe two features questions worth 4 marks. Let's get a bit of background about the Pearson Edexcel paper 2. Traditionally this is split in two. One is a British depth study and the other is a European or wider world depth study. The topic that I teach is Anglo Saxon and Norman England circa 1060 to circa 1087 and the American West 1830 to 1895 for the wider world depth study. In the past these two have been provided with as separate booklets answered within the same exam. For the year 2022 only though, these exams have been split into two separate shorter exams, so just be mindful of that. Traditionally though, the total time for both papers is 1 hour and 45 minutes. You can half that in 2022 as they will be sat separately. Now let's have a look at the question. It's important to pay very close attention to the instructions within the paper to make sure that you answer the correct number of questions and that you answer them in the right way. So pay particular attention to this instruction here. Answer question 1A, you must answer that, there's no choice. Question 1B, again, you've got to answer that, there's no choice. And then either question 1C1 or 1C2. You will have a choice on the big question, the 16 marker, so that you've got a better chance of writing lots about something that you really do understand. But we're going to focus in this video on question 1A, the shortest of the lot. Describe two features of castles in Norman England. This is a fairly straightforward question as long as your knowledge is fairly decent. It's only worth 4 marks, so don't spend too long on it. The first question is assessing AO1 or Assessment Objective 1. Knowledge of key features and characteristics of the period. Here's what it looks like in the exam board's own mark scheme. Describe two features of castles in Norman England. The target here is the knowledge of key features and characteristics, and all 4 marks go to AO1. Award 1 mark for each valid feature, identified up to a maximum of 2 features, and the second mark should be awarded for supporting information. So quite simply, you just need 2 valid features or examples, and support each feature or example with additional detail or explanation. And you shouldn't spend any longer than about 6 minutes on this question. And in fact, most of my students get these done quite a bit sooner than that, which leaves a little bit more time for understanding the harder 12 mark and 16 mark questions within the paper. This is what it will look like when you answer it. You'll have the question at the top and then a very clearly defined space underneath to write your answer, feature 1 and feature 2. So make sure that you've written something in both of those spaces. Here's an example answer. See what you think. One feature of Norman castles was the bailey. This was an area with buildings like stables and halls that supported the castle surrounded by a palisade. And feature 2, Norman castles were often built from wood. This meant that they were quick and easy to construct to help the Normans establish control over the Anglo-Saxon population. Let's have a look at the mark scheme. The examiner will be given a series of bullet points with suggested features and explanations or extra detail that could be included. But don't think that it has to be one of these in order to get the marks. Anything valid would be counted in exactly the same way. So how did I do here? Well, in purple I've got my features. That's a relevant one. It gets the mark. And that's accurate supporting information. There's my next feature. And this time a bit of supporting information and explanation. So 4 out of 4. Looking good to me. Got the idea? Well, you could pause the video here and have a go for yourself. If not, let's have a look at another attempt by me. One feature of the Norman castles was a stone keep. This was an important feature as it was a visible and permanent reminder of Norman domination, and it would have been an intimidating presence for the local Anglo-Saxon population. The local tenant-in-chief was often based in the castle, and the keep also provided important administrative and judicial functions in the local area, further emphasising Norman control. Feature 2. One feature of the Norman castles was the motte. This was a water-filled ditch around the outside of the castle that made it harder for attackers to get in. Here's the mark scheme again. How did I do? Hopefully you've picked up on the fact that actually this isn't so good an answer. So my first feature is absolutely fine. You can absolutely keep that. The next feature is also fine, to a point. In fact, I would have got the mark that early on. If I'd just put one feature of Norman castles was a stone keep, this was an important feature as it was a visible and permanent reminder of Norman domination, full stop, that would have got the mark. All the other stuff is completely unnecessary. I'm writing, if anything, too much. So you can save yourself a bit of time here. What about the next bit? Another feature of Norman castles was the motte. Absolutely fine, I get the mark for that. But this is not a water-filled ditch. That's a moat, not a motte. The motte is in fact the mound on which the keep sits within a Motte and Bailey castle. So I cannot get the extra mark there. So I've probably wasted a bit of time writing such a long-winded answer, and I've just got something else point blank wrong. So this would only be 3 out of 4. Not a disaster, but you can do so much better and so much more easily. Here's something you can practice. You can pause the video once I've shown them and have a go for yourself, comparing them to the mark scheme that I went over earlier and the techniques. Anglo-Saxon and Norman England. Describe 2 features of the Witan. Describe 2 features of the Norman legal system. Describe 2 features of the Domesday Book. Okay, if you're one of my students, you can pause there, because the next ones are not going to be relevant to you. However, if you've stumbled across this video and you want to have a look at some of the other topics, these would be relevant questions. King Richard and King John. Describe 2 features of knight service, 1189 to 1216. Describe 2 features of Magna Carta, 1215. Or the Henry VIII topic. Describe 2 features of the Amiable Grant, 1525. And describe 2 features of the dissolution of the lesser monasteries. Right, there are other topics as well, but that gives a bit of a spread, and you can see how actually these are all asking for the same thing. Some final points then. 4-mark describe 2 features questions should be easy marks. You simply need to identify 2 valid examples and support them with additional detail and explanation. As long as it's to the point, as long as it's accurate, you should get the marks. And they should definitely not take any longer than 6 minutes. They may even take less time than that, leaving more time for the longer questions later in the paper. And that's the end of this rapid revision video looking at the exam skills associated with the briefly described features, 2 features questions within the Edexcel exam. I hope that's been useful to you, and if it has, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more of the same. If you've got a suggestion for something else that you would like some help with, pop it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. And if you need any further advice on these questions, you can do the same and I'll answer if I can. But for now, thanks for watching and goodbye. And if you've got an exam coming up, good luck.